Sonja Hulleder was born into a working-class Amsterdam family where life was simple but rough. Her father, a dock worker, had a temper and drank heavily. Violence at home was common, and Sonja learned early how fear could control people. That same environment also shaped her younger brother, Willem, the boy who would later become the most feared gangster in the Netherlands. Sonja's childhood was filled with screaming matches, police visits, and nights where she hid under the table with her brother. While other girls played with dolls, Sonja learned how to stay quiet and survive chaos. Willem, however, learned something else. That power came from making people afraid. Despite everything, Sonja and Willem were close. He protected her from bullies and always said, "Nobody touches my sister." She admired his courage, not realizing it would one day destroy their family. Their loyalty to each other became legendary and dangerous. As a teenager, Sonja fell in love with Cor van Hout, Willem's best friend. Cor was charming, ambitious, and already knee-deep in criminal dealings. Sonja thought she could handle it. She didn't know she was marrying into a storm that would one day make headlines around the world. In 1983, Willem and Cor, along with their friends, kidnapped beer tycoon Freddie Heineken. It was one of the boldest crimes in Dutch history. Sonja was terrified, but she kept quiet. When the ransom was paid and the kidnappers caught, her world changed forever. Cor and Willem became infamous. Even after prison, they were treated like underworld celebrities. Sonja, now a young mother, lived in constant fear, afraid of the police, the media, and most of all, her brother's enemies. The money from the kidnapping vanished, but the curse it brought didn't. Sonja's marriage to Cor began to crack. He was obsessed with money and revenge. Willem, too, had changed, colder, more violent. The two men who once trusted each other now hated one another. Sonja watched helplessly as Willem and Cor turned from brothers to enemies. Their feud was known across Amsterdam. Threats, ambushes, and rumors of betrayal filled the streets. Sonja was caught in the middle. One man her husband, the other her brother. In 2003, Cor van Hout was gunned down outside a restaurant in Amstelveen. Sonja heard the news and screamed. She knew deep inside who was behind it. Her own brother. That moment broke her heart and began her long road to revenge. For years, Sonja said nothing. She lived quietly, raising her daughter, pretending to have moved on. But inside, she was haunted by her husband's murder. Willem had become unstoppable, and Sonja feared she might be next. Willem's empire grew. He controlled extortion, drug deals, and even judges and police contacts. He used fear to silence anyone who crossed him, even his family. Sonja received calls at night, warnings to stay loyal or disappear. In 2013, Sonja realized silence was no longer safety. It was death. After another friend was murdered, she began secretly recording conversations with her brother. Every call, every threat. She saved it all. Sonja joined forces with her sister, Astrid. Together, they planned to bring Willem down. They met in cafes, parks, and parking lots, whispering like spies. Every word could cost them their lives. Sonja carried a tiny recorder hidden in her purse. Each time Willem called, she pressed record. He bragged, threatened, and confessed. Without knowing it, he was building the case that would destroy him. Sonja couldn't sleep. Every noise at night made her heart race. She knew that if Willem suspected her, she'd end up like Cor. But she kept going. For justice, for her husband, and for her own peace. Willem began to suspect betrayal. He accused Sonja of gossiping with police. His words became venom. "You think you can cross me?" he once shouted. "I made you who you are." Those threats became part of the tapes later used in court. Sonja stored her recordings in secret places, a friend's house, a safety deposit box, even inside her walls. She knew if Willem found them, she'd be dead before morning. For years, authorities feared Willem too. But when Sonia came forward with proof, hours of recordings, they realized they had something undeniable. It was the start of one of the biggest trials in Dutch history. When the news broke that Willem's own sisters had testified against him, the country was stunned. The Holleder sisters became household names. Some called them heroes, others called them traitors. In 2018, Sonia walked into the courtroom. Willem sat across from her, glaring. For the first time, the woman who once hid behind him looked him in the eye, not as a sister, but as a witness. In court, Sonia described their childhood, the abuse, the fear, the manipulation. She painted a picture of Willem not as a gangster, but as a man shaped by darkness from birth. It was emotional, painful, and shocking. When prosecutors played Willem's own voice, threatening, laughing about murders, the room fell silent. Even those who admired him before couldn't deny the truth. Sonia lost friends, her home, and her peace. She had to move constantly, live under protection, and use fake names. Her life became a prison of safety. Even in prison, Willem tried to intimidate. He wrote letters, sent messages through others, and tried to destroy Sonia's image. But her courage had already exposed him. Together, Sonia and Astrid became symbols of courage. Two women who dared to face the monster their family had created. Their story inspired books, documentaries, and debates across Europe. Willem's trial was long and emotional. Witnesses vanished, new evidence appeared, and Sonia had to testify multiple times. Each time, she relived her trauma. In 2019, Willem Holleder was sentenced to life imprisonment for 5 murders. Sonia cried, not in joy, but in relief. The man who once ruled their lives was finally powerless. Even after the verdict, Sonia felt no victory. She had betrayed her brother, but she had also saved herself. "I didn't want revenge," she said once. "I just wanted to stop being afraid." Across the Netherlands, people debated whether Sonia was a hero or a betrayer. But most saw her as a survivor, someone who finally broke the silence that had trapped so many women in crime families. Sonia worried for her daughter. She knew Willem's enemies might still seek revenge. Every day she checked doors twice, never trusting anyone completely again. Even years later, Sonia couldn't pass the restaurant where Cor was killed. She still heard the gunshots in her head, still smelled the cold air of that night. Some wounds never heal. Today, Sonia lives quietly, her location unknown. She avoids cameras, interviews, and crowds. She knows safety has a price: loneliness. When Astrid published her book Judas, telling their story, Sonia's world shook again. The public learned how deep the pain went. The book became a bestseller and was adapted for film and television. Sonia often said, "I didn't choose my brother." Her story shows that family can be both protection and prison, love and danger at the same time. Though she never sought fame, Sonia became a quiet symbol of strength. A woman who stood against crime, even when that crime shared her blood. Sonia's journey shows how fear can silence generations. It can twist love into loyalty, and loyalty into suffering. But courage can untie that knot. With Willem in prison and the old gangsters gone, the era of the Amsterdam underworld faded. But its scars remain in every family it touched, especially Sonia's. Sonia's story reminds everyone that evil doesn't always come from strangers. Sometimes it comes from those we love most. Few people could look into the eyes of a killer, especially one they grew up with, and tell the truth. Sonia did. That's why her name will never be forgotten. After decades of fear, betrayal, and pain, Sonia finally found something close to peace. It came not from revenge, but from truth. The truth that set her free, even as it destroyed her brother.